Hey everyone, this is an Amalgia video, and today we're going to be talking about a basic walkthrough for Metroid Dread. This guide isn't going to be about uncovering everything there is on the map, it's going to be about how to quickly get through all the main plot events in order to complete the game. This part 1 will cover the very beginning of the game through the first two major bosses. One is the central unit boss, and the other is a boss called Corpius. I don't have a ton of experience with the Metroid games, but I find them interesting. I like Samus a lot, and I do find this game fun. I had originally heard that it was very difficult, and so that's why I decided to pick it up, but the game is actually more forgiving than a lot of the reviews let on. I'm learning the controls as I go through the video, but I still end up being able to clear things relatively quickly. The opening scenes recap some of the past Metroid games that lead up to this moment where Metroid Dread begins. If you take the time to read it, it is actually interesting, and it makes me want to go back and try the old Metroid games so I can get a deeper understanding of how the story evolved. Before we begin, I'd like to talk a little bit about the basic controls that you start the game with. The Y button fires shots of your plasma gun. Holding R and then pushing Y switches it over to your missile shots, which are more powerful. You can shoot freely while moving, but much of the time it's easier to use the L button to stop your movement, and your character will pull out a laser pointer that you can aim more accurately with. Pressing ZL, which is the button behind the L button, will do a running slide if you're moving. And the last of the starting actions we need to talk about is pressing the X button when enemies glow with a gray, sparkling flash is how you counter their moves that are about to hit you. You can use X to counter enemies when you're standing still, but also you can do a running counter where you just hit X while you're running. But also it's possible to counter enemies in certain cinematic cutscenes, like when you're captured by the E.M.M.Is or in certain boss fights, but we'll get to that later. After the recap of the previous games and the explanation of how the E.M.M.Is made it onto ZDR, the game's main events start to unfold. Almost immediately after she enters the planet's atmosphere, the story cuts to her at the bottom of ZDR with a new power suit and a dose of amnesia. This is a 2D game, but it has plenty of 3D action scenes, and the action scenes in this game are really cool most of the time. I remember I was not impressed at all when I saw Nintendo's original footage of this game, but through playing it and seeing more of the animated scenes, it seems pretty interesting. I'm going to let this upcoming opening scene play out since I think it's pretty cool, but if you want to skip directly to the gameplay, I will have timestamps in the description for you to click on. After her battle with the Chozo warrior, Samus finds herself surprisingly alive and with a new power suit, and this is the starting room for our journey. There's a door to the left in this room, and that's going to be our first major goal to reach it, but we have to go a roundabout way in order to get there. First thing we're going to do is head east. There will be an orange door coming up, but we can't open it just yet. We'll be able to unlock it eventually when we get our hands on the charge shot, but for now we just have to leave it be. We can open doors that look like that but are glowing yellow with just the normal plasma shot. When you encounter narrow openings on the ground, you can slide underneath them with ZL. Red pulsing objects that look like hearts embedded in stone walls and in this ceiling here are explosives you can detonate to open new paths. Use B to jump, and these blocks up here with the white spheres in them, they can be shot and destroyed with a normal plasma shot. They respawn after a few seconds, so you need to shoot one and then the other to jump between the handholds fast enough in order to progress. This red statue of the Chozo warrior is an ammo refill station. You can't go left at this point, so you have to go right and kill this red block with a missile. Hold R in order to get your missiles up. Sometimes hidden blocks show up as normal stone, so if you ever hit a dead end, it's good to shoot them with your plasma shot and missiles to see if there's a hidden block there that you could secretly get past. Entering this room is our first milestone where we unlock the network station. It allows us to save and progress the story a bit. There will eventually be a way to warp around between different areas of the map, but we can't really use it at this point. Another thing is that this game has a very retro feel to it, which I think is a good thing, but not all retro elements are always good. The map is one of the elements that I think drags it down. It's a little difficult to read at first, but once you get used to it, the map will be very helpful, and make sure to have it up often when you're trying to figure out where to go. Your AI helper, Adam, just basically tells you your overall goal is to reach the surface of ZDR and how to open the map. You open the map by pushing the plus button on your controller. I'm going to skip the rest of his cutscene so that we can get right back to it, but after his explanation, make sure that you save at the little save station that appears before you. After we're done saving, we're going to head east, but this is a quick glimpse at what the map looks like. Since we're not very far, it's pretty manageable at this point, but the two ways to unlock more areas of the map are to physically explore there or find a map station, which will broaden your horizons of how big your map can get. The door on the bottom left here is another orange door that we need to ignore until we have the charge shot, and sliding into this next room with ZL will initiate a cutscene that teaches us how to counter. You can't miss this first counter, but all subsequent counters won't be this easy. You have to press X when you see that flash appear. Counterable enemies can be killed normally, but successfully landing a counter will deal more damage and usually reward you with more healing items and missile refills than if you had killed them outright. This is also a good opportunity for me to explain how wall jumps work. You have to jump with B and then keep holding towards the wall and press B again in order to get a wall jump. If you change directions to where you want to go too early, it will not execute the wall jump correctly. Goal in this room is to keep heading north and east. As you can see, I'm pretty bad at countering at the outset, but I'm starting to get used to it a little bit. Something to note is that the enemies drop a lot of health. They deal a lot of damage, but it's usually not a problem because of how much health they drop. So unless you take a lot of damage all in a small period of time, you're usually not going to die unless you're in a boss fight or run into an E.M.M.I. Once you reach this northeast corner up here, we're going to head north a little bit and slide through that gap. There's going to be a red block up top that we can shoot, and it's going to explode the path behind us and block it off, but it's going to open a new path for us so we can proceed. The red container up here with the missile in it is a permanent increase to our missile capacity by 2. So whenever you see these, make sure to pick them up. Once you enter this room to the east, you'll have to slide down the hole. This is technically our first E.M.M.I encounter, but the E.M.M.I is partially damaged, so it doesn't incorporate everything that we need to do in order to kill an E.M.M.I, but we'll deal with that more when we get to that later point. This upcoming scene with the E.M.M.I is a very scant tutorial on how to dodge the E.M.M.I attacks. E.M.M.I attacks are basically instant death, and there's a small counter window that you can hit X in order to save yourself, but it's very difficult to do, and when you're being chased down by an E.M.M.I, it depends on what cutscene you get when it unfolds. It's hard to see, but you're looking for a very small and quick orange flash. In this cutscene, it's going to come out of the E.M.M.I's eye. Once you see it, you need to hit X. Once you knock the E.M.M.I back, you have to run towards it and hit ZL to slide between its legs and escape. Because this E.M.M.I is already damaged, it chases you very slowly and it cannot climb walls. Future E.M.M.Is will not be as forgiving. They chase you very quickly and they will climb after you at extreme speeds. You still don't have the power to kill this E.M.M.I yet, so enter the room to the right in order to get the Omega Buster. The Omega Buster is a temporary and more powerful version of Samus's Plasma Shot, and it's used primarily to kill E.M.M.Is. At this point, it's only capable of doing the Omega Charge Shot, which we need to destroy the E.M.M.I outside, but it'll have more functions later. The door that locked behind us when we entered this room looks like a larger version of an E.M.M.I. Hold L in order to pull up your pointer, and then hold R in order to charge your Omega Blaster Shot. When you see a flash, push Y in order to fire the fully charged shot at the door. The E.M.M.I won't be waiting where you left him, so you can drop down and wait for him to come through the door. His eye is smaller, but make sure to aim correctly at it and then fire the charged shot to kill him. Once this E.M.M.I is defeated, you will lose access to the Omega Blaster and go back to your normal Plasma Shot. From here, we're heading north and west to a nearby save station. Step on the square switch in the ground to save your game, and then we're heading west. Ignore that red heart above you for now, we have to come at it from another angle. Once you get into this pool of water here, there's a red block that you need to shoot in order to drain the pool. Standing in water harms your jumping ability, but also areas where you could slide before, you cannot slide in once they are full of water. Take a close look at the pattern on this door here. Whenever you see a door like this, that means you're about to enter a zone where an E.M.M.I is patrolling. These are the most hectic and unforgiving parts of the entire game, so be wary whenever you enter one. Something of note is that E.M.M.Is cannot fit through holes that are only small enough for you to slide through. It depends on where your slide makes you end up, but sometimes it's a safe zone and other times it'll just help you put distance between you and the E.M.M.I. In this room for now, we're going to head to that door to the west. Also, opening your map effectively pauses the game, and if an E.M.M.I is very close to you on a map square that you have discovered, then it will show up as a large red orb. E.M.M.Is pose a number of challenges, but one of them is that you could be walking through a door in an E.M.M.I area, and it could just be about to enter through on the other side with no indication that it's actually there, so it can be helpful to open your map sometimes before changing zones, just in case. This part here can be a little tricky because you're finally discovering how fast E.M.M.Is are. You have to jump up here and shoot the heart in order to blow up the hole in the floor, and then keep climbing north and go east. We're going to be looking for a door so we can pass into the next area. Ignore that blue platform up there, we can't access it yet. Here, jump up top and keep running east. Drop down and slide into the water pool to finally be safe. Once the E.M.M.I knows it can't get you, it will lose its detection and the area will unlock and allow you through. In this room, we're going to head east, then climb north, and then cut over west. There will be some doors on the eastern side, but we can't access them yet without a power that we'll get later. Even though the door up here locks, you can still get close enough to it to pick up this missile tank and increase your maximum missile capacity by 2. This room is our next major checkpoint, where we check in with Adam, save our game, and then continue on our journey. The short version of what Adam explains is that E.M.M.Is can hear you. What this means is that when you're in an E.M.M.I zone, they only patrol within that area. They can't leave it. But if they don't detect you, there's like a blue aura coming in front of them. If they sort of detect you, like they can hear you moving around, it'll turn yellow. And if you enter their field of vision, it'll turn red. Each time you go from blue to yellow to red, the E.M.M.I will get a speed increase and it will be faster while it's pursuing you. The other problem is that if the E.M.M.I sight lock turns red, it'll lock all the exits in the area. So you have to find a way to break its line of sight before the doors can open and you can get away. Usually this is done by sliding through a gap of some kind and entering another area. I'm going to skip the rest of Adam so that we can get right back to it. The only door that we can go through other than the one we came in through is the one to the northwest. Head that way to keep advancing. It can be a little hard to hit it on that angle, but you need to destroy that heart in that wall up there. Then jump up on the platform it creates to hit the second one and open the path. As I sit here now, I'm not sure how to get that missile container, but we can always come back for it later. Drop down and slide through the gap in order to enter the next E.M.M.I area. The door one floor below and to the east here leads to a dead end, but it's a dead end that has a Chozo energy and missile refilling statue, which can be helpful. Also, if you die to an E.M.M.I, you will respawn here. E.M.M.I areas are the most stressful and hectic part of this game, but as long as you have a rough idea of where you're trying to go when you enter one, it should help. So right now we are trying to keep heading west. Doors that are brown are locked for the time being, so we need to stick with the yellow plasma doors that we can open. If the layout permits and an E.M.M.I is kind of blocking the area where you need to go, you can kind of bait them in another direction to open up the path so you can escape to whatever door you're trying to get to. Some good news is that even if an E.M.M.I detects you, you can still open plasma shot doors. When you get in here, you have to jump up to the west here and then shoot these blocks out in order to make it to the next door fast enough. In this room, you want to exit through an open door in the southwest, but you can only get through it if you've already broken the E.M.M.I's detection and line of sight. When you fall into this pool of water, shoot these little underwater enemies. They're not very harmful, but they do get in the way. That statue above you is inaccessible for now, so just mop up the enemies, and then down here there's actually a hidden missile container, but aside from using a missile to blow up that little radiator looking thing, I'm not actually sure how to get it at this point, so we can come back for it later. Either way, enter the door through the west to continue. Here's another save station, so save your game just to be safe. Then we're going west. This area here isn't an E.M.M.I zone, so that's good. It makes exploring much easier. There's going to be a missile tank down here behind a waterfall, but don't worry about it for right now. We have to come get it from another direction. So just slide down this ramp and go underwater, and then go to the east. Mop up these small underwater enemies, and then destroy the red block that's embedded in the wall to the east. It will drain a small portion of the water in this room so that we can backtrack and then head north. The water was keeping us from jumping as high as we needed to progress, but now with it partially drained, we'll be able to advance. Jump up here and open that plasma door on the right to continue. This purple-looking area is a map station. It'll give us more general sections on our map to make exploring a little bit easier. You still have to explore each room individually in order to unlock its layout, but the map station kind of gives you a broader look at where the boundaries are, so you have a better idea of which ways you need to go. We're going to skip going down here for now. We're going to head north and west. That'll lead us to the missile tank behind the waterfall. After we get that missile tank, though, we'll have to come back this way and jump in that pool in order to find the door we need in order to keep advancing. Here's a room with one of those big counter enemies, so just counter it, and then use a jumping plasma shot to open that door to the west. You can head either way here to descend, but I think heading back east is easier. Drop into the pool at the bottom of the shaft, head east, and jump to get into the next E.M.M.I zone. This zone is a huge pain, and your goal is going to be to slide through a gap and enter the next area. Then in here, you want to head to the southwest. There's going to be a switch that's square, and it's a little hard to see, but it's similar to the ones with the Chozo statues and the save points. Standing on the switch will release a water flow, and you need to be able to stand on it long enough to fill the tank at least half full, or else you have to start over standing on the switch. To do this, you have to build enough space between you and the E.M.M.I to give you enough time. But once the tank is full, circle back down there and slide down the new tunnel to the southeast to escape the E.M.M.I. Ignore that north path because it just circles back. Head south and west, and then jump through this water tank to get to where we need to go. This Chozo statue down here is just to refill health. It will not refill your missiles. Hopefully you have some left, but if you don't, they're pretty easy to get back just from killing enemies. The room to the east is a dead end, but it does have perpetually spawning enemies in case you need to refill your supplies. Once you've explored the room, or you could just skip it outright, head west in the Chozo statue room to continue. Here, despite the fact that we can open that door, we can't enter that area right now. Well, we can go in, but there are areas that are too hot and too cold, and that is a too cold area, and we do not have the right ability yet to be able to go inside without dying. You can see the frosty ice stream coming out of it, and that's how you know it's a too cold door. The too hot doors have fire streams coming out of them, so they're easy to identify. So just shoot the hearts underneath it in order to continue west. This door here is one that we need to fire a missile at in order to open. Once you enter this room and mop up the enemies, drop down the shaft and there will be a gap to the west that you can get through by sliding. This room with the statue is our next major milestone. Jump up on the orb and shoot it in order to break it and get our next new power. Oh sweet charge beam, how I've needed you. Basic gist of the charge beam is that you can hold Y in order to charge a more powerful version of your beam shot. This is super important because it can damage enemies that are immune to your normal beam shot. But also, if you hold a full charge and jump, you get a aura around your character that then gives you the ability to damage enemies just with your jump. And now all those pesky orange doors that we couldn't open before, now we can. If you look closely at the map, we're actually near the room that we started the game in. And when we started the game, there were some orange doors that were blocking our way. Now's the time to head east and pass through them. Here, use the charge shot to pass through this door. If you've ever played Mega Man, then you know you expand your maximum health by acquiring E-tanks. Metroid is no different. That purple thing there is an E-tank, so slide through the gap and pick it up to increase your maximum HP by a whopping 100. Then climb these rock platforms to open this charge door and continue east. Here it's clear, after all this time, I still haven't learned how to properly counter things, but I'll learn, eventually. Our goal in this area is to climb all the way to the northwest exit. This amounts to a little bit of backtracking, but now with our new charge beam power, there will be access to new areas that'll help us progress. Once you enter this door here, it's a good chance to save your progress. Once you're done saving, we're going through that west door. In this room, kill the enemy in the shaft, and then just beneath us there's going to be a charge door that we're going to use to progress eastward. You can uncover this block here in the rock, but I don't think we can destroy it yet, so we'll come back for that missile tank another time. We're entering an E.M.M.I zone, and these little cutscenes here are just kind of foreshadowing for the boss fight that we're heading towards. In this room, we want to go through the northwest door. By the time you enter this room, the E.M.M.I should be wandering close by. You kind of want to hear it and then see if you can check it on your map, and eventually we're going to try to climb this shaft to the left here. Ultimately, we're trying to get to the northeast exit in this room. Here you can see real quick that the E.M.M.I shows up as a red flashing dot on your map. In this room, keep heading east. Here I try to see if I can climb that wall up there, but I can't, so just ignore it and slide through the gap into the water and then head east. We've been through here before, so we're going to climb this shaft again, and we're going to head to the western door so that we can get back to the save station. The save station had a door that we couldn't open before, but now we can. We're going to be heading through the door to the northeast, but save your game first. That door to the southwest, that brown iron looking door, we'll be able to open that later. Now we're getting closer to the fire areas. Slide under this in order to pick up a missile tank and increase your capacity by 2. After that, we're going to jump up these platforms and shoot a hole in the platform above us in order to advance. Once you're on this upper level, slide through this crack to keep heading east. There's going to be some suspicious looking rock here, but we need to break it from another angle, so just ignore it for now and go through that charge door to the east. I know we're in a narrow hall, but I like this area. It looks kind of cool. I hope there's more scenes like this to come throughout the game. These two doors here are the 2 hot fire doors, so we can technically get inside them, but skip them for now, since going inside will gradually deplete our health and kill us. The door to the right is a detection door that we can't get through yet, so head to this southwest door and then save your game. Head through this southwest door here, and then we're going to enter a room that has a switch we need to flip in order to open the brown metal doors. This switch here changes the magma flow and gives us access to a bunch of new areas that we couldn't get to before. Also, to the right of this switch, there's a suspicious rock outcropping we can fire a missile at to uncover, but we're going to need to head back into the room we came from and then backtrack just a little bit in order to loop around and get the missile tank that it's concealing. Now break the red block and slide through ZL and head to that southwest door to keep advancing. Now we're climbing this shaft, and it will lead us to that suspicious earth patch that we left behind before. We're going to shoot the red heart that's embedded in it from below in order to blow it up and be able to backtrack a bit. Head through this brown magma door so we can continue west. Once you're back in the save station, you need to step on the square in order to trigger a cutscene with the AI Adam. Even though this is a cutscene you have to trigger to proceed, Adam doesn't say anything of value. He just says you opened the Steam doors, you have to follow them to proceed, and that there are 6 E.M.M.Is in total that are still chasing you. I'm going to skip the rest of Mechanical Captain Obvious so that we can get to progressing through the Steam door to the west. Now's also a good time to save because we are approaching the game's first real boss fight. Here we're re-entering an E.M.M.I zone, and our goal is to progress southwest through the brown thermal steam doors. When the thermal doors are closed, they take a while to open, so make sure there's enough space between you and the E.M.M.I so that you have enough time to open it. In this next room, there's an obvious trap in the floor, but we need to fall through it in order to make it to the boss fight. Slide down one level and then jump to make it through this plasma door. In this room, there's a charge door to the northeast, but be wary of the E.M.M.I because you need enough time to charge your shot to make it through the door. In this room, you want to climb to the northeast and slide through the gap. This will lead us to our first boss fight. Fortunately, this boss is not hard at all. The only problem with Metroid bosses is that they don't seem to have HP bars. They only have phase changes that symbolize that their health is declining. You primarily damage his heavy armor with the charge shot and missiles, as your normal plasma shot won't be able to break it. The only real difficulty here is that you have to dodge the 2 fire rings that shoot from the left and right side, and then the beam shot that comes out of that little cannon on the upper right. Once you hit the second phase, the projectiles will speed up and you can use slide to dodge them easier. But also, when the armor is broken on the boss, your normal plasma shot hits can damage him. So feel free to use your missiles on this first phase if you so desire. There's the animation for the armor break, and now all the projectiles speed up. This phase of the boss doesn't seem to have much HP, so just use the rest of your missiles if you still have some and finish him off. Killing him will give you access to the Omega Buster again, but it'll have expanded functionality, and this is the first real time where we'll have to defeat an E.M.M.I. If you saw my short video posted the other day on how to kill the E.M.M.I, this is exactly the one I was talking about. The footage and explanation in the how to defeat the E.M.M.I video is going to be a little bit better than what I show here, but this will be enough to get you through it. The door is going to have another enlarged E.M.M.I face on it for practice. Hold L to aim your sight and then press Y to unleash a rapid fire burst called the Omega Stream. That will melt off the face shielding that E.M.M.Is have protecting their eyes. Once the shielding is gone, hold R, and then once you see the flash, press Y in order to fire your charged Omega shot. Once you exit this door, the E.M.M.I is going to try to drop down on you from the west. You should probably stand a little bit further back than I did to give you more time to shoot its face armor. The good news is that if you don't break its face armor in one burst, you can drop down a level and then go to the end of the hallway to buy yourself more time. Just don't let the E.M.M.I get too close to you or else you'll die. The E.M.M.I's movement slows down when you're shooting its face armor, and when it's broken, it will do a standing up animation. This is your time to charge the shot and aim upward at its eye. Release with Y and make sure you hit it dead on to kill it. With the E.M.M.I dead, you can finally explore its full territory without having to worry about its presence. The gray areas on the map that used to signify the E.M.M.I's patrol zone will now turn green. Also, defeating this E.M.M.I specifically gives you access to the new power Spider Magnet. As we were going through these levels, you may have noticed that there were blue energy surfaces that we couldn't interact with. Well, now with the Spider Magnet, we can climb them, and we can hang on ceilings as long as they're blue. And if you're hanging on a ceiling and you press up, you can swing your legs to it in order to collapse your body more towards the ceiling and make yourself flatter. You can shoot enemies while you're hanging on a wall, but the other thing is that there are certain platforms that you can only interact with if you hang on them using Spider Magnet, and we're going to be seeing those coming up in the not-so-distant future. That item cube on the map is where the next boss, Corpius, is, and that's where we're headed now. Head west and then climb this room's western wall with Spider Magnet. Now exit through this northwestern door. Now jump on that spider magnet panel and then up onto that platform. That will pull it down so that you can jump onto the platform and then exit through the northeast door. In the past we avoided these shield enemies, but we can kill them now with charge shots, and when they die, they drop a lot of missiles. Head through this door in the northeast to progress. In here we're going to climb the western wall all the way to the top, so defeat the enemies in your way. Up here there's going to be a wall barrier that we can just shoot down and then jump through the gap in order to pick up a new missile tank. Jump on that panel with spider magnet and pull it down to reveal a new door that we need to pass through. Here we're going to take a minor detour. We saw these hearts earlier, but we couldn't reach them. Now shoot them, and it's going to give us quick access to a save station. Another boss fight is coming up, so this is a good chance to save our game. Once you've saved, head back west, and then we're going to go through that northeast door that was above us. There's only one way to go, so head east through here into the next area. These door blocking enemies aren't too hard, you just have to know what to do. You have to walk close enough to them, and it's very close to the front of them in order to trigger their attack, and then once you see the silver flash, just counter them and they'll die. Passing through this door will automatically trigger the boss fight, so be ready. Our fatal friend Corpius here has a few looping phases and a lot of HP, so get ready for this to be a harder fight than our eyeball boss that we fought. First off, Corpius's head can only be damaged by charged plasma shots and missiles. Your normal plasma shot isn't going to do anything. During this fight you're going to want to save some of your missiles, but every time Corpius does a phase change for the first time, he'll give you some HP and some missiles back. I'm slowing the footage down here so you can get a better understanding of Corpius's first attack. It winds its tail behind itself, and it starts to rattle like a rattlesnake. You need to jump into the air when you hear the rattle in order to dodge the attack as it sweeps most of the floor. Its second major attack in this first phase will have it rear up and arc its tail back. This is your chance to bait the tail and then move closer to it so you could be underneath it. This will give you access and some free shots to Corpius's head. These two attacks are going to repeat for most of the first phase, and they'll be present in later phases with some minor changes. If you misjudge which attack he's readying and he does the tail and you're on the outside of the arc, you'll lose access to Corpius's head, but you could still avoid damage if you move far enough back. This cutscene here signifies the first phase change. Corpius will turn invisible and his hitbox will change to a red glowing orb in his tail. In addition to the charge shot and missiles, this new hitbox can be hit with the normal plasma shot. Also, if you find yourself on the outside of the arc attack, you can still hit the red hitbox. You don't have to be inside like when you were inside to kill Corpius's head. I really do not like the phases where he's invisible, so I tended to use more missiles in order to speed it up. This cutscene here signifies entry into the third phase. One of the first things you're going to have to do is slide under Corpius. But keep in mind when you slide under him, there's going to be a silver flash coming from the tail, and during this little sliding cutscene, you have to press X at the correct time to enter a cutscene where you get free damage on Corpius's head. If you miss the timing here, you'll take some damage. You can still hit his head normally, but you'll do less damage. This is also a great time to fire your missiles if you have some stockpiled. If Corpius's mouth fills with yellow bile, he'll do one of two attacks. He'll either fire an orb, but if he holds it in his mouth and walks towards you like this, you need to run to the closest wall and use spider magnet to get off the floor. While you're holding onto the wall though, you can shoot at his head and get some free shots off. Here I messed it up, but when Corpius crouches low and advances towards the wall, you need to cling with spider magnet and then jump over him to the side that has more space. Around this time he'll turn invisible again, and he'll do all of his normal attacks plus all his new attacks while invisible. Here I had to gauge that he's crouching low and about to slam into the wall and jump over him, doing it correctly this time. If he reappears with his back turned to you, you're going to get another chance at the sliding phase. It works exactly the same as before. Use whatever missiles you have left in order to make it a lot easier. By this point you've seen all of his attacks, so it's pretty much just a matter of repeating until he's dead. As you may have noticed, because the yellow orbs give HP and you get HP every time he does like a phase change or you do a correct counter, this fight is actually very forgiving in terms of how much health it's willing to give you back while you're fighting. And again, every time you get that counter correct, just make sure to hammer him with as many missiles as you have during this phase. And at this point, the next new cutscene you get is his death. If you're still with me and you made it to this point, congratulations. It was a tough fight and you should be proud. Samus has one last cool move in her toolbox to destroy Corpius, so enjoy. When the boss is finally defeated, Samus gains access to a new power. The Phantom Cloak is incredibly useful. The yellow gauge charging under your HP bar is the Aeion gauge. That's the power source that you need in order to use your Phantom Cloak. You use the Phantom Cloak by pressing the right stick in, and it's very useful. You can use it to avoid detection by enemies. You can use it to avoid detection by normal enemies. We can pass through those detection doors that we couldn't get through before. You can fire while in that mode, but your Aeion gauge will deplete a lot faster. And if you happen to deplete your Aeion gauge, you won't be able to use another Phantom Cloak until the Aeion gauge recharges completely full. Okay, from here, we're going to head back to the save station so that we can record our valuable progress. Climb this wall here, and then stand far enough back and activate the Phantom Cloak in order to make it through the detection door. This is a room we're already familiar with, but now that we have Spider Magnet, we can just jump on that blue panel and automatically climb the wall. And there you have it, re-entry into the save station so you can save your progress. This is the end of part 1 of my basic walkthrough. I'm not sure when I'll get around to part 2, but I'll try to do it at least relatively soon. If you found any of the Amalgia videos helpful or enjoyed them at all, please subscribe. It really helps us out. If you've come this far, then I admire your staying power. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.